What? What's your issue,
I was ready.
You were ready?
Get
well,
your fucking
you.
phone.
I have to do some things.
All right. So, welcome back to the Pasture podcast.
Pasture podcast.
The Pasture podcast. So, on this episode, we have one new member. First off, the people who you know, Cole.
Levi.
Sophie.
And our new member who has not been here before.
Hey, my name's Kieran Bledsoe.
And we all...
No.
Thanks for your last
But
name.
you may hear me referred to as Corn.
We were just about to talk about that.
Yeah. So he might be called Corn, Corny Boy, Horny Corny Boy.
Anything to do... If
corn.
you could start the word with a K,
It's corn with a K. I don't know if you could hear that in my inflection.
It's not because of... It's... it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah. Alright, so... Corn has actually requested that this podcast be in regards to film. So, do you want to start that conversation?
I'd like to start.
Yeah.
Oh, Levi's starting. Okay.
I love the cinematography.
I hate you.
Alright,
so, Kieran.
As someone who is an aspiring film director, filmmaker in general, I have aspirations of making movies.
I wish I had aspirations.
I've really wanted to for a long time. I tend to believe that I have a pretty well-versed knowledge when it comes to movies. I know what my answer to this question is, because I know why I know this answer. But just to pose a starting a question. What do you think is... Now realize when I say this, I don't literally mean it, but what do you think is the perfect movie? Perfect film?
First off, Ryan Reynolds is naked.
Okay.
He shoots me in the fucking head.
No, he's asking about existing movies.
Existing films.
Okay, I thought we were going
Okay.
to write a script right now. I'm still on the superhero track. I thought we were gonna make a joke, and Sophie didn't run.
I am talking now. I know I'm saying this because it's my favorite movie, but the reason it's my favorite movie is because I think it is honestly one of the perfect movies. Is Forrest Gump, because it has the perfect blend of comedy, and tragedy, while still being lighthearted. And at some points, absolutely soul-tearing. I just think it's... And the general, tone or color of the actual, film itself is very light, but also saturated, I want to say.
Yeah.
And I feel like that really works with how lighthearted it is, and then when it gets to the some of the scenes with more darker themes like death and war and things like that, it helps show the intensity of that specific moment. And I still think Forrest Gump is... I could agree if it's not completely perfect, but to me it is definitely up there,
Yeah, I think, especially what you guys are talking about, the colors in a movie, that's really important to me too. That's probably one of the biggest things I look for, especially if it's something that I'm not really familiar with. I feel like more indie films do that a lot. They really focus on the color of the film. That really makes any sense. If I'm going on my favorite movies, I can't really say because it changes pretty often. Probably the Percy Jackson adaptation from the books, The Giver, as no one else is laughing. Okay, what is... these are jokes.
So, now...
Please don't ever think I think
there's a reason that, to add into your thing about color, now, obviously, since I'm the only one who's seen the movie, Dr. Strangelove is it's a black and white film. It's a black and white film, but it was made in a time when color film was already widely common, far more common than black and white was.
Yep.
And I think that is part of the reason why I think it's so good, because the movie itself it's a satirical look at the Cold War.
Oh shit!
And it's I don't want to spoil the movie too much, but
Yeah,
it's a satirical look at the
I'm gonna
Cold
watch
War.
it very
and,
soon.
Like the Cold War, the color palette being black and white is very cold and closed off, and you don't get a lot of you don't get anything out of the color because during the Cold War, and obviously, if you can tell from the title, it's How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. There's an amount of nuclear tension going on in the movie, and so it reflects that with its color, because in a nuclear holocaust, sometimes things are really just black and white. Not a nuclear holocaust. In that age, sometimes things were just black and white.
Threat of nuclear.
It was in a period of mutually assured destruction.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna.
I think. Sorry. A movie that I really think did the whole color thing well was Oz the Great and Powerful. It's not one of my favorite movies, but
it's a good movie.
I really liked the way I really liked the whole color scheme of the movie. I don't know, real bright, real good. And I know a lot of it, was green screened. But either way, I still think they did a really good job on that.
I also didn't mention acting. Acting's also.
Oh
really
you should probably have
acting.
I feel like that's
we're talking about the cinematography.
Yeah, that's a given though.
Acting and direction are also exceedingly important.
But also, sorry, I'm talking. My real favorite movies are probably Lord of the Rings series. I'm trying to think. Sophie's gonna laugh at me. I do really genuinely like It's Such a Beautiful Day.
It is a thought-provoking movie.
Yeah. It's good the first time you watch it. It doesn't have a whole lot of rewatch value. And Deadpool and Doctor Strange are my top favorites right now that I can think of. I'll chime in later with more movies.
I literally watched this movie last night. But after watching it, I think it is one of the best and one of my favorite movies that I have seen. And that is Good Will Hunting. Because to me, I feel like this is 100%, there's no doubt about it. And the most important thing to me in a movie is the score. Is how a movie is scored. And how everything sounds in the movie. Like, there's no doubt that that is the most important thing to me. And that movie, for those of you that have seen it, is so beautifully scored. And what they do is they use actual songs with lyrics. And the lyrics are important. It's so important that the lyrics... I watch, and there are people, and maybe you guys will get mad at me for this. I watch every movie with closed captions on, because I don't like to miss little lines that I would miss normally.
I do that on a lot of movies.
And the songs are so important that the lyrics have closed captions.
Have you ever seen The Great Dictator?
I haven't.
It is a Charlie Chaplin movie, and it's one of his last movies. Chaplin scored all of his movies himself. He acted, he directed, he scored, and he produced all of his films.
Wow.
As he got later in life, obviously he had early films where he was just acting, because that's, he didn't have a bunch of money yet. But as he got later in life, he scored all his films, and he kept making black and white movies way late into his career. And The Great Dictator, I think it has one of the most beautiful scores that's ever been put to film, because it's the man who was in the lead role and who was directing the film, put the score in place, knowing how he was acting in the movie and how he was directing the movie.
No, I see how that would make a good pairing.
All of Chaplin's movies are beautifully directed. The Gold Rush, Modern Times, they're all great. They're all amazing.
Yes, and going back to Good Will Hunting, I am, I don't know, I think I didn't realize that Matt Damon was in it, because it's a very early Matt Damon movie, and he did a fantastic job. God, he did amazing. And also, Robin Williams. There's not a single movie Robin Williams is in that I will not like.
Okay, this is branching on a new topic. I'm gonna start talking about the best book to movie adaptations.
Can I finish Good Will Hunting?
Oh yeah, I thought you were done.
No.
I thought when you looked at me you were done.
Because I'm totally down with that. I love that topic. But can I finish Good Will Hunting?
Oh yeah, totally.
So this is a movie. Any movie Robin Williams is in, there's comedy. He's a funny guy. He loves to just, like, make things funny. But this movie has such a beautiful... The cast of characters is amazing. I mean, there's probably... No, you haven't seen the movie. I forgot no one else has seen it. There's probably around 10 named characters.
I know the gist of the film.
And it's so beautifully real, is what I'll say. Everything is so... It's so real life. And I think there have been a few other movies that have been able to capture how life actually is so perfectly. And I think that's why it's amazing. And they do this through... The movie does this. I honestly don't know who directed it. I can look it up. Whatever. And they did this through these amazing shots of people in the back seat of a car taken from the front seat of the car. So it's moving and shaking. Or shots held outside a moving train, and where you can see it, it's so real, and it was so beautifully done, and the score went along perfectly with it. It was an amazing movie.
I mean, if we're moving on to the topic of book to movie adaptations,
do we want to get the train out of the way?
This is, for me, this is a hard topic to talk about because
there's so many bad ones.
Well, no, it's not that. It's because
also because there's probably a lot of books you haven't read that.
Well, no, yeah. For me, it's just that
Clockwork Orange.
No. It's I mean,
that's
on the
You
topic.
can't copy the feeling you get reading a book.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but the issue that I come across is that I separate the book and the movie so much that I don't even take into account the fact that it's an adaptation.
What about
I try to do
both
that
as their
a lot
original
more
things.
now.
See, but what about like Harry Potter?
I don't care. It's
that's
an adaptation. It's an original.
That's really a separate
idea.
thing to you.
Yes.
Well,
to me,
I
those
wanna
two are
say-
intertwined.
I want to talk about what I think the best, in my opinion.
Can I guess?
What?
The Lord of the Rings.
Actually, no. He did. I'm going to
Yes.
say he did a very good job with it. There are some things that I wish he would have included in the movie.
Oh yeah,
that
so
he
now
did
that
not.
I'm actually reading the books,
yeah.
yeah.
But I think the best are The Lovely Bones, which
100%.
is, I read the book before I saw the movie, and I read the book.
That is.
It's a book about a
It's really
14-year-old girl, and it's told the entire book is through her perspective, and she gets murdered, and it's fucking good. And
It's not as good now, but I mean, it was good, real good movie when it came out.
I mean, yeah, but I'm not really a big fan of the movie.
oh yeah, the movie. I'm not saying the movie is good, but as far
okay.
as adaptations go, the book itself is fantastic. But as far as adaptations from like book to screen, I would have to say it was a pretty good adaptation.
I never finished the book, but I've read most of it, so I agree with you.
But the best, having read the books, and this one's actually a series, the best book to screen / TV, I would have to say is the BBC's Sherlock, up until season 2, is what I'm going to say. Because there are 4 seasons currently. After season 2, it deviates from the original canon. Yeah. However, having read the books and seen the show, up until season 2, I mean, it is probably one of the most... I'd say it's a pretty accurate adaptation. Okay.
So, I'm gonna go, and you guys, none of you have probably seen this.
What?
To me, the transition where I said they stuck to the book, and it was a very difficult thing to do, but they did it so well. If I Stay. It was that kind of sappy romance movie.
I've not seen that.
I've seen the movie. Personally, I don't like the movie, but I haven't read the book, so I can't tell you how accurate it is.
Very much enjoyed both the book and the movie, and why I found it so good is the main character... Hold on, I gotta sneeze. And it starts out with the main character gets in a car crash, and she's in a coma throughout most of the film. And she is having out-of-body experiences and debating. She, very clearly can sense that she has a choice to live or die. She can feel that. Mm-hmm. and the movie is basically her going through her life and making the decision should she stay. And I think the way they did it in the film captured the book so well that's why I picked that.
See, I can't get behind it. It's so hard for me to say that, like, because I think that separating the source material and the end product adaptation is very important, but at the same time,
Well, there are sometimes it's almost like, for example, I'm gonna say the Percy Jackson movie adaptations.
Oh God.
There's a difference between like an adaptation and completely rewriting the story and making it your own. Like I think there is a line to be drawn.
Yeah.
I
agree with.
I mean, honestly, I think my favorite part of those movies, because they're bad, but like
Yeah.
my favorite part of those movies is the fact that they did rewrite the story. So
Oh,
much that
hell
it was their
no.
own thing.
There's a limit. I agree with you mostly on the fact that, you know, I want to enjoy movies. I want to feel okay going to a movie, and so I can appreciate that it is a bit different from itself. I just don't like hating things.
Like
and
Lord of the Rings. I love Lord of the Rings. I've read the books, and
they are two different things, but they're very. But okay,
I think they're both very good.
Coming from someone who was a huge Percy Jackson fan who actually watched the movie first, movie is great on its own. But it really
No, not
it what
really.
No.
I haven't seen
you
it.
You can say it's good, but
I watched it
I'm
when
gonna
it
disagree
first
with
came
you.
out, so I thought it was pretty good. Also, I was like 11 at the time. I remember. I think it came out on my 11th birthday.
I think my biggest issue with book to movie transitions is, and I think this is most people's, and Kieran, this is probably what's going on with you. When you read a book, you get an image, and it kind of sucks when they don't match up. Because then you're watching.
But there's a
care
difference
anymore.
between your image. Like, to me,
I don't.
for example,
No,
I'm
do you
talking
disagree?
about the...
I don't have a problem
Sorry,
with that.
Sophie.
Neither do I.
For me, the problem comes almost when they're too similar. I think that I have more of an issue with, like, I mean, I'm gonna say this lightly because I'm not really sure that I really feel this, but I feel like I would almost kind of like the Lord of the Rings movies a little bit more if they had changed some more stuff. But I mean, that's a tentative thing that I'm saying there. But like, you understand what I'm saying, right?
I
It's
know, I
almost
do.
Like
It
new
depends on what they
content.
change.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I like the fact that they added the Aragorn Arwen romance. That was not a thing that was originally really touched upon in the books. I think it was briefly mentioned maybe once or twice within the books, and they really upped that in the movie. I like the fact that they added that. I know some people were upset with that. I agree with that. The changes he did make when we're talking about Lord of the Rings were good changes. I personally, well, I don't know if I can really say this, but I personally like watching the movies better than I like reading the books. In my opinion, just for a multitude of reasons. But as far as like the accuracy, that's why I couldn't list it on like some of the most accurate adaptations.
Yeah.
But-
and like, I'd have to disagree with you on whether or not the movies or like what you like better. I mean, obviously, because it's a personal preference, what you like more. I haven't read an entire Lord of the Rings book yet because I was like, no, I want to read The Hobbit first. So I'm almost done with The Hobbit. I have like 50 more pages to go. So far, I've liked reading the book way more than I've liked the movie, or than I liked watching the
Well, The
movie.
Hobbit's a children's book too. Lord of the Rings is a lot drier and a lot darker.
See, for me,
Yeah, it's a lot more like fun to read it.
for me, the issue that comes with a lot of movies is that whoever's making the movie is walking a very dangerous line, and that line is between the two extremes are rewriting the entire thing and making it completely different, and making the exact same thing as the source material. Then there's the line in the middle, and for me, the movies that fall on the line in the middle are the bad ones, and also the movies that, and more like the movies that fall on the like doing exactly the same thing as the source material also fall on the bad side for me. It's very heavily weighted towards new things, because as much as I love as much as I love adaptations, I think original ideas and in film and in television and in video games and in music and everything, original ideas resonate a lot more than redoing something just sort of with a different spin on it.
So how do you feel about a director who was a big name director, and I can't list a specific example, but a big name director reviving a book, say something that hadn't been touched upon in years, and then
something that was popular in its time,
never popular, never really read, and all of a sudden a director brings it back and makes a movie. Would you be one to read the book after seeing the movie and say he didn't change it enough?
Now,
or do you think that is now the director doing justice to the author?
I think if it's something like that, I think it's more the director doing justice to the author.
I think it really depends on the story itself as well.
I agree.
I'd say most of the time, though.
The only time that I ever limit myself to, like, I'm not going to see this movie or I'm not going to watch this show until I read the source material or look at the source, whatever. It's only in, like, longer stories. Like with, I really want to watch Game of Thrones, but that's something that I feel like I want to read it first.
Yeah.
Because, that has a longer story, and because,
He's not done with the series.
Yeah. And so, while the television show is going right now, the original source material hasn't finished yet.
Yeah.
So in the end, there's going to be two different things. So I want to see what the original source material was like when that television show was being made for the first time.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
But then you get to something like the Harry Potter films, where I really didn't care to read the books first because I figured, going into it, these are two different things. Because the one thing that I always hear from very hardcore Harry Potter fans is that, like, the movies get too many things wrong, and that's why they don't like certain movies. What I think is, I think that that's crazy a little bit because, I think that from my perspective, the great thing about the Harry Potter movies is the feeling of just, like, you feel like, that's a world of magic. That's like an actual world of magic.
Yeah.
And if you want to get that feeling across in a different way than they do it in the book, I think that's you're making a different thing. That's where I see it.
I feel like there's a line to be drawn, though.
Just back onto the topic of, reading the source material first, or whatever the source material is, and then watching the movie. I like to do that just because I don't want a biased experience while I'm reading it. Because I don't want to imagine what the movie told me. I want to imagine my own thing and then compare it to
Well, then aren't you getting a biased experience when you're watching it?
No, not anymore. I used to be like, it's not exactly what I imagined, fuck that. Not necessarily, they changed something from the book. It's just not what I imagined, so that's why I used to not really like movie adaptations books. Cool.
So I had a very interesting experience with the Harry Potter series because I watched. I'm trying to think. Let me look something up real quick. If anyone wants to make a short little thing while I look this up,
I'm going to talk about Percy Jackson really quick.
Oh,
Alright,
okay.
Just because I want to talk about. I do see your point. I do agree that there are liberties to be taken. Because, obviously, there are certain feelings that you get while reading a story versus what people are able to replicate in actually viewing a movie, and what is actually suitable for film. There are some things in a book that might not be suitable for a film for many reasons that I'm not going to get into right now. And, my problem specifically with, and I do think the Percy Jackson films, there were two.
I haven't seen the second one.
No one has.
Anyway, I've seen it. It's really
why did
bad.
you do that to yourself?
my thing in particular with that, because I was a person who watched the movie first, like
Same.
before I actually got into the book, and I am a diehard Percy Jackson.
I read the entire series in 2 days.
I read all the books before I saw the movies.
I saw the movie and I was like, meh, I don't see what all the fuss is about this story. Then a friend convinced me to read it, and I started reading it, and I really loved the story, and then, so I kind of forgot by this time what the movie was actually like, so I tried rewatching it, and I was appalled by it, because, there's a difference, in my opinion, between taking a story and, like, for example, Grover, is described as, like, having fair skin and, like, ginger hair in the book, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't remember. It's been a very long time. I don't remember them describing him that way.
Well, see,
or
but like
another way.
that's the thing that like doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I was
okay.
the way that it was casted or whatever. Some of the liberties they took with this personality, even I'm okay with, because again, you can't get everything that's in a book in a movie. That's like a 500-page book and then like a hour-and-a-half long movie. You can't obviously do that, but the whole series of stories revolve around Percy Jackson being aged through the years because of prophecy that revolves around his age. So making a bunch of 16-year-olds
do something when the prophecy is when he turns 16.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any goddamn sense. Like, in my opinion, it's like they read the first book, decided to change everything, then read the second and third book, and was like, "Oh shit, we fucked up."
It's like the Avatar movie.
Yeah,
I think that you know what I don't remember what I was going to say. So I have another point to make about a movie that's coming out, and I'll get to that after Cole says what he's going to say.
All right, going back to Harry Potter because I had to look up some dates and be sure of things. So I watched, I believe, the first and second Harry Potter movies. Then I read the entire series, and then rewatched the entire movie series. So it was a very interesting experience, and to me, I felt that series worked in tandem. I think it benefited, like, I feel I would have gained knowledge and experience within this world. Read one book, watched that movie. Read one book, watched that movie. Read one book, watched that movie. I feel like doing that with this example, and there are a lot of series where that wouldn't work, that I benefited from that. I felt like I could, the biggest example... Look, I'm not even going to say spoiler warning. If you haven't read the fucking Harry Potter series, it's been out for 10 years now.
Yeah, I'm going to let you know.
Longer than that.
The last book.
I think
the last book came out in 2007.
The thing is, like, don't say spoiler warning because nobody doesn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
and
like,
so
I haven't read it. I'm huge on spoilers. I don't give a shit. Tell me whatever happens. I already know what happens because everyone's always talking about it.
The last book and Harry dies, that's a massive fucking shock.
Holy shit, he dies?
That hits. And, you realize that. And then I watched the movie, and guess what? It still hits. But now I get to see where he goes, and see what happens. And you can, something that I really feel like Harry Potter gains, and why Harry Potter works so well, is you can't take your time describing what a sea of students and their reactions to something looks like.
Yeah.
Here's the biggest one. The Snape and McGonagall confrontation.
I think that's really not... That's not necessarily just a Harry Potter... That's one of the advantages of a film in general over...
Especially with something like fantasy.
Yeah.
Like, it's a really visual medium, really. Like, there's so much, especially, in the Tolkien books, there's so much that's described because, books are in a visual medium. But
20 pages for a meeting in...
Fucking
oh god, I still can't get over that. God,
it's been years.
The fucking meeting that Elrond has over who's gonna be in the Fellowship is fucking 20 pages long. Okay, sorry.
Anyway,
continue.
And
I feel like I'm sorry. And coming from someone who has not read or watched the entire series, I've read the first 2 books, half of the third book, and I watched the first movie recently. I read the books first because, I want to be able to experience my own thing and then watch, what the filmmakers experienced and whatever their interpretation of it was. I liked the movies better because it's such a visual thing. It's really something that you have to see to really understand or, get the full experience from.
Yeah.
As much, even though there are things I disagreed with, I prefer watching the movies.
Yeah. I just think gaining that when you see, and especially because you see it on named characters, like that they don't directly address in a book, but you can see the reactions of the other characters. In a previous podcast, we were talking about a big scene. This is not book to movie, so I'm a little changing, but it's still movie. The Avengers, when you see
it's still technically book to movie.
Well, no, it's not
comic
based
book.
directly off of a book. The Avengers,
I think that factors directly into the conversation.
No,
Yeah, it does.
Hold on,
It does.
hold on.
It does.
Let
canon
me
movie
finish.
series right now
Exactly.
is not directly from a comic,
on,
as far as
hold
I
on.
know. Sorry.
I will come directly back to that
And
in a
so
second here.
when Bruce Banner talks about his suicide attempts, and you see the reactions of the other Avengers, that's not something you can really address well in a book. If you went through in a book and there's like 6 other people there and said what each of their reactions are, you don't get the same effect.
It's
It'd
not
be
as
very
intense.
dry.
It would be very dry.
There's a very slim way to do it, and that's in a book where you have chapter to chapter the perspective is changing. for
Yeah.
different people,
Yeah.
and you just
I
come back.
really
And that's
love-
hard to do well.
And
I
that's
love
exceedingly
books like
difficult
that
to
though.
do.
When they do that
But-
well, I love books.
That's
what?
how Game of Thrones is.
I
structured.
think
Really?
Yeah.
that like the Marvel series of films is a perfect example of what I like to think of the source material and the end product adaptation.
Well, I feel like
are
that's
two different
not-
things.
I feel like
it's
hold
not
on.
based off of a
That's not. The reason I feel like that you cannot really accurately say that is because in the Marvel universe itself, there is no canon.
There's
Well,
no
There
yeah,
are
canon.
thousands of universes.
Yes, but
Can I
that's
that
the
they
point.
could
The
pick,
point
that they have picked and chosen
same
scenes
thing.
that
It applies,
they've liked.
universe to universe within the comics themselves. The same theory applies. It's the
But if
same.
there's a series with like one book is one story and you get the whole book wrong,
Okay, so how you have
Can I-
Let me say this one thing.
Okay.
Okay, so how you have I don't know how well versed all of you are in comic books.
Not very. I'm poor.
Okay, in the
We
Marvel
talked about
universe,
this.
there's some slightly more like popular and more prevalent universes. There's there's the Ultimate Universe, which is just everything is pretty much the same. It's just slightly different.
I understand that part.
There's the 2099 universe, which is there's just stuff, but it's like all the superheroes in the modern day don't take place in the modern day. They take place later in the future.
There's a lot of weird.
And then there's one
it's like a
that's
bunch of AUs.
there's one that I think really well reflects my point is there's a universe that's called the Noir universe, and it's pretty much only in like the Spider-Man sort of group of characters, and it's so different. It's so different from the original set out story for Spider-Man, where he's a teenager and he gets bit by a spider and he gets super spider powers, right?
This time he fucks a spider.
No. What happens is this time he's there's still like a little bit of the basic plot line where it's a regular guy, something weird happens, he gets strange powers. But in this, it's like he's a detective and he finds this Mayan artifact and he gets it's not necessarily spider powers, but he just gets gets stronger and he does get webs, right? But like
spider power.
It changes it so much, but still keeps the little bits. The little
But at the same time, I feel like there are so many Marvel universes that's why you can do that.
And
that's why I think
it's made by fans. It really is almost like people are not gonna like the way it is. It's almost like fan fiction sometimes.
Yeah, no, you definitely. There are some like mini universes where
it's just
definitely
fucking weird, and
See,
they're all written by fans.
Because I'm gonna take it back to Kubrick. I know I'm a Kubrick nerd, but I gotta take it back to Kubrick. Kubrick, in his time when he was alive and still making movies, he was constantly getting criticism for his movies because he would adapt something, and then the author of the source material would come back and he'd say, well, I liked it, but it wasn't really the story I was telling. Specifically with The Shining. Stephen King is always saying that he doesn't like Stanley Kubrick's version of The Shining because he's saying that it's different from what I made. It's so different from what I made. And I think that, it's valid. It is different from what he made. I would argue that he made something better than the original Shining. Because when Stephen King then went and made his own miniseries of his version, it's horrible. It's really bad. And The Shining is such a good movie and they're so different. And that's
but it also depends if you can make it better, because there are some movies that definitely are better than the books that they're adapted from.
I think the quality of the source material also is a big thing.
Yeah. As an aspiring author, I understand where he's coming from when, the author has a vision
someone
of a
else
story.
is making money off of something you created.
Yeah, I understand his frustrations there. I can't say whether or not one was better than the other because I've only ever seen the movie years ago. Cole.
I think going way back to comic books doesn't count. That is a visual medium.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
You get all the visuals from a comic book. They're
I
just
get
not moving.
I get what you're talking about.
That's point made. All I wanted to say.
Okay.
Comic books, I feel like, don't count in this discussion due to the fact that they are a visual medium.
Well, this discussion is just about movies.
But
something else I want to get back to.
It's not necessarily a visual medium in the same sense as film is.
Well, it's not a movie
because
medium.
Seeing things happen on a screen and seeing movement, and one of the most important elements of film for me is the camera. The camera and
it's
the
almost
cinematography.
like it's the entire reason that a movie's made.
Alfred Hitchcock. If we want to talk, if you let me for a second, I'm going to say something about Alfred Hitchcock. Alfred Hitchcock believed that the camera was the most important character in all of his movies.
I would 100% agree. You need a camera to make a movie.
No. There's in one of my favorite movies, Vertigo. It's an Alfred Hitchcock movie.
It's
Vertigo,
shot vertically.
There's a scene in an office with the main villain and the main protagonist. They're talking to each other. They're just having a normal conversation, but the cinematography of the scene is set up so that at the beginning of the scene, the antagonist is in a somewhat unassuming sort of, just a friendly place, right? And he doesn't really change that in the movie, really. But the way that he does the cinematography is that he keeps the camera distant so that, first of all, the audience is watching this happen. The audience is separate from this occurrence. The audience is not supposed to feel in this movie like they are the main character. Then secondly, the way that he frames the shot is that he has the antagonist step up like a two-stair thing that makes him taller than the protagonist. Because in the movie, in the story of the movie, the antagonist knows more than the protagonist. And so Hitchcock shows that by placing the character of the camera in a specific place. You don't get that in a comic book. You don't get the movement, the direct movement, the seeing, and you also don't get that camera placement.
I want to talk a little bit about cinematography now. Okay. The show, I'm talking about a show, and I've already talked about it. BBC's Sherlock. I want to talk about the cinematography of BBC's Sherlock really quick. And arguably it is beautiful.
Arguably beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty beautiful.
It really is. They up until a certain point, they took a lot of time with the series, and you could definitely see that in the way things are shot. But specifically, and this will be a spoiler for season 3, even though this is probably one of the... what's funny is this is probably one of the worst seasons of this show, but it has the most beautiful, I don't even know if I
One thing, I'd just like to... We've all been moving around a lot, and I'd like to point out we're recording this, so we should probably stop making a lot of noise.
Yeah.
Because Cole's going to have to edit this, and we've been making a lot of noise.
That is awesome.
I'm going to let you continue, but I want to put in a tiny little I would disagree that it is beautiful, but I think it's it's not beautiful on purpose, and that's what makes it beautiful.
Yeah,
it's,
definitely.
Because
definitely.
it's trying to display
It's not like
how
see what you
Sherlock
mean.
works, and
It's
Sherlock
not
sees the
super
world in a
complicated
bland,
and artistic.
Yeah.
He sees it basic, and that's
But
why
here's the
it's
thing.
beautiful.
Also,
okay,
the colors.
I want to
in
speak
that
about
show,
two
the color
episodes.
scheme.
Yeah, the color schemes are beautiful. I just want to talk about two instances in particular. Be warned, this will contain spoilers for the show for seasons 2 and season 3. But the last episode of season 2 is absolutely stunning in the way that it's shot, in the way that it was written, in the way that it is just probably one of the
This is when he falls off the roof.
Reichenbach Fall. Yes.
Oh my god, it falls off the roof.
But the most beautifully shot scene in this, funny I say shot, is in season 3. It's the last episode of season 3 when, again, spoiler, Mary shoots Sherlock. And he's falling backwards, and as he's falling, the world around him stills, and it's just, I can't even explain it.
The editing
I
in that is
can't
really,
do it
really
justice.
good too.
But that entire moment where he is just falling, and in that 3-second window of him realizing, oh my god, I've been shot, like, you feel the fear that he is feeling, even though he's not saying anything. His facial expression is just pure shock. Like, the way the scene is shot, like, the whole world is tilting, is so beautiful, and I've honestly, I haven't really seen anything quite like it in the sense that I could really do an accurate comparison. Cole.
So, I'm going to switch the topic a little bit to something I'm amazed it hasn't been brought up yet. Special effects. Because, especially in this current day and age, that is an incredibly important tool. What do you guys think, in your opinion, has been the best use of special effects within the last 5 years?
Doctor
And I'll
Strange.
give you mine.
Oh, yeah.
Personally,
I don't know. I think there's
I've
something
had a
there.
lot of people disagree with me on this, and Kieran, you're probably of someone who will. Interstellar, I think,
I have not seen that.
was a very... I love that movie, mainly because I'm a massive relativity nerd, and I love that whole concept. And I think the way they use special effects was so beautiful.
I don't think it's bad. I don't think the special effects are bad. I think that you have a point, but on a very similar tangent, I think in the past 5 years, the best use of special effects was in Gravity.
I did not see Gravity, so I cannot weigh in.
Gravity is beautiful. The story is kind of but the movie is so beautiful. And there's the commander of the ISS. Trying to remember his name. He recently came back to Earth, and he's been on Earth for a while. Could someone look
It's
that
so
up for
weird
me?
we live in a time where we can say, oh yeah, he's been on Earth for a while now.
Can someone look that up for me?
Got it.
The
okay.
previous like commanders of the International Space Station. Anyway, he recently came back, and he was talking about someone. I think he was at Comic-Con. Someone asked him a question about gravity. He was like, "Is the depiction of of them space is that really what it looks like?" And he said he stopped, and he was like,
Wait, is it Chris Hadfield?
"Yes, Chris Hadfield. Yeah.
I
Chris
love
Hadfield.
him.
Chris Hadfield. He was talking. I mean, I'm not gonna. I don't think I'm gonna get this perfectly right, but he basically, or I took it as he said, essentially, when I saw this movie, this is the closest thing that I've ever felt again to being back in space. Was that movie, because of just the way that they actually the way that they looked, they really did look like they were in space, and they made it look like it really was in space.
I
think that's just I'm trying to think of a word and I can't think of it, so I'm just going to say, hey, keep talking.
I want to bring up, as far as special effects goes, Lucy.
Didn't see it.
Lucy.
It's a pretty good movie. I mean, it's very thought provoking. There is a lot of special effects, like I mean, it's been a while since I've seen it.
I haven't
so
seen it
my
since
thoughts
it came
might.
out.
Yeah, well,
I've seen it twice. I'm trying to remember too. I'd agree with you. I'd say it's between that and Doctor Strange, only because
Doctor Strange is beautiful.
No, I didn't do that.
as best special effects simply because, one, I highly doubt there's a whole lot of stuff out there that does stuff as well as Doctor Strange did, and two, I don't watch a whole lot of movies with special effects. Also, I just don't watch a whole lot of movies. I'm trying to get back into that now.
But I'll talk about Doctor Strange in a minute because that's, to me,
that's a podcast on its fucking own.
Honestly. But with Lucy, there was the scene, and again, spoilers for Lucy. There's this scene where she is just experiencing the birth and death of humanity and the universe all at once from sitting in an office chair. And the way they did it was so beautiful that I remember in the theater I started tearing up because this is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. My thoughts might be different now because it's been a while since I've seen the movie, but at the time watching it, I thought it was amazing.
No, okay. I feel like we're forgetting something, and I admittedly also forgot this because I'm gonna have to rescind gravity. Gravity's number 2 for me, but I think number 1 because I think we're forgetting practical effects. Practical effects are still special effects.
That was just what I was going to say.
Effects.
Yeah, I see what
Mad
you're
Max Fury Road.
Oh, Mad Max Fury Road. I was on the tip of my tongue earlier.
make-
That's one of my favorite movies. Don't get me fucking started on Mad Max Road.
Is so
fucking Fury Road. Holy shit.
great.
That is one of my favorite movies
Okay, one of my favorite movies
of all time.
when it comes to effects is John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yep.
I've not seen that.
It's
Alright.
okay. It's gross. It's real gross.
Yeah.
but
If
it's
you're
amazing.
If you're having a bad stomach day, don't watch
yeah.
that movie.
Okay,
I'm
the
just a
closest
screaming fan.
I've ever felt to seeing something that's obviously not real but looks real is watching John Carpenter's The Thing and watching Mad Max Fury Road. When you see those cars flip and when you see the flames shooting out of the end of a guitar while a man's playing with. Because it's all actually happening.
Yeah.
And you don't... As much as I enjoyed Doctor Strange, I didn't find the effects all that great because I didn't think there were enough practical
Mad
effects
Max
in
is
this.
really immersive.
Mad Max, it's all happening on screen. It's really being filmed and you can tell because...
You're on the edge of your seat the entire... it's really just...
The Force
it's
Awakens used a lot of practical
that too.
effects.
Yeah.
That too.
But we're talking about...
We don't even want to...
special effects we were talking about the last 5 years.
Well, let's not bring up Star Wars.
Yeah.
We don't want to get on Star Wars.
Yeah, no.
That'll
I
take
feel
too long.
like if we talk about Star Wars, we're gonna have to talk about the very first one all the way up into the newest one. So we don't.
No.
That doesn't. Even the newer ones don't count as the last 5 years because we have to talk about the whole series.
Anyway.
I think the reason we all have such an appreciation for practical effects is because of our theater background.
Whoa, we're all in
That's
theater?
all we
What?
have.
I have...
And I feel that it's such a beautiful thing. And The Thing is a really good example of that. What is that melting scene? It was bubblegum.
I don't know the material.
I do. It was bubblegum, watermelon rind. It's all random household shit that creates an amazing, amazing visual that you will never get with a CGI effect.
Some spoilers for John Carpenter's The Thing, but at the end of the movie, when they're operating on the man they're not operating on him, but they're examining him and he's laying on like a box, right? And they're just as they're doing they're going in to see if he's all right. They move their hands in, and his stomach opens up. His stomach opens, and there's a mouth. His stomach has a mouth.
What in the
And it bites the man's arms off.
Alright, I'm watching this movie
All
tonight.
of this
What the fuck?
actually is filmed. It's all actually there. The stomach opening up, admittedly, is it's done in some they use some frame by frame to make it happen.
Well, that's still
But
fine.
it's still actually there and
Holy
being
shit.
filmed.
I think the reason why practical effect tends to be a lot better than CGI is because despite how well done CGI is, I think the way our brains process what we're seeing, I feel like there is
CGI
always some
looks
level
too
of
perfect.
there's
it's
always
uncanny
some
valley.
level.
It's uncanny valley right now. We're getting too good.
No. I think we've left the uncanny valley. We left the uncanny valley, and we're close enough to actual real life where it looks good. But
We're
where we are
on
now,
the edge of uncanny valley.
we're not on the edge of uncanny valley.
We're on the edge of leaving it.
No, we've left it. We're
Okay,
there.
well-
Have you seen the Jungle Book?
Oh, the Jungle Book.
okay.
Have you seen Life of Pi?
I've not seen Life of Pi.
All of the animals in Life of Pi
You
are
know,
CGI.
I'll give you
they
that.
all-
With Jungle Book, you're right. I haven't seen a whole lot of. I don't watch a whole lot of movies
And okay,
that are newer. I've
what I'm
been
saying,
watching
like,
movies recently.
you can tell that the animals in the Jungle Book and in Life of Pi are not real animals.
Yeah.
But they look really real.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The difference is that
Their features.
I want you to know we're talking about the oldest Jungle Book.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Anyway, thanks.
I'm sorry. I'm.
Good one.
Fucking why are you laughing? That was awful.
Good one. Anyway, so,
That was the least funny thing I've ever said.
okay,
He's crying.
I'm not crying. Non-practical. Okay, non-practical effects look too perfect, and that's why I think there's an issue because I think it's most well explained by how many have you two seen Rogue One?
I've not seen Rogue One yet.
Okay.
No Rogue
Don't
One
spoil it,
spoilers.
please.
I'll kick you out of my house.
Okay. Do you know that there's a character that's not a real
CGI?
person? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, yeah.
It's the
Okay, so I can
best.
talk about
It's
that.
the best use of CGI in a film since Smeagol in Lord of the
I
Rings.
would disagree. I think it's bad. I think that
I haven't seen
Grand
even a
Moff. I
clip
think
of
that
it.
Grand Moff Tarkin and Leia look bad, and I think that that's because they didn't use it right. But that's not the point. The point of it is that the reason that I think he looks bad is because they got the face really, really accurate on Grand Moff Tarkin. I think Leia's a little off, but that's.
They had limited.
That's
They had limited footage.
I don't remember perfectly that one, but they got Grand Moff Tarkin really, really close, but I think they got it too close because a person's face changes day to day, kind of. I can wake up in the morning and look different than I did yesterday. Because sometimes your cheeks are a little fuller than usual, just because of what you ate yesterday, and sometimes your cheeks are narrower, and sometimes sometimes you just
if you have facial
naturally
hair, it's going to be in a different pattern. You
sometimes
have
you're
acne.
just naturally sticking your head out a little more during the day, or sometimes you're sticking your head back. Sometimes you're slouching your shoulders more. You change so much that when you just take one person and oh Jesus, when you take a person and you use their face and you use that face and that face doesn't change while you're filming the movie, there's an issue because in films we're used to seeing they're made over like a span of 6 months, whatever, however long it's made. So we're used to seeing in a movie the actor's face kind of changing over the course of the movie because it's not always shot in CGI.
Yeah.
And so I think our brains are able to have caught up to that and are able to recognize when that's not happening, and that's why it sticks out so much. Because the same thing with CGI animals. Our brains can see fur in the real world in a way that we can recognize that it changes slightly, right? But I think that in CGI, when you're using CGI, it changes almost too much sometimes, and sometimes it changes too little.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That's one thing I've always had a problem with like CGI animals and stuff.
Oh, my dad is here.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, we've lost a Soph.
Yeah, Nicole.
Oh yeah, is Cole? Did he leave? He's got his shit here.
Yeah, Cole's been out of the room for a while.
Yeah, Cole left a while ago.
No, he's in the bathroom.
My dad is here.
Oh, he's okay.
Oh yeah. Oh, they're leaving together. Okay.
Together.
Well, that's the end of this Pasture podcast.
All right.
Pasture pancake.
Peace. All right. There's that.
Okay, we gotta have like closing remarks though. Like,
yeah.
I
Cole,
think that in
you
the
should
end,
edit. we're just gonna have some silence and you can edit it out unless you want to talk about something.
I think just as a point that I want to end on, I'm gonna be a real great guy, and I'm gonna bring it back to Kubrick again because I just
wish I knew a
so
movie by this person so I could talk about
movies.
this. Sophie, your charger's in my wall.
In my second favorite movie, 2001: A Space Odyssey. That I think is. I didn't mention it beforehand, but I honestly think it is also a contender for perfect movie. Simply because everything that we've talked about in this podcast, it takes to a level that had not been taken before in film. It has groundbreaking special effects for its time. It has amazing score. It has amazing everything.
Okay, now
that's it.
yeah, we gotta wrap this up. So thanks for listening
To the Pasture Pad.
Pasture Podcast.
PSP.
Love you all.
Godspeed.
Godspeed.
Pooty peed.